Now, if you earn yourself less than 15,000 at the end of the month, what do I mean by that amount of money? If you earn yourself like 5,000, 8,000, 10,000, or maybe let's say 13 or 14,000, it is below 15,000. Okay, this is the video for you. You need to watch this because at the end of this video, I dare promise you that you're gonna get yourself the most important information that's gonna help you out there. This is a real group of people who earns this amount of money and they really need our help. And guess what? If this is you, then take a seat, watch this video to the end. And by the way, I always post a video each like this one, okay? If you don't want to miss any of my good videos in the future, do this. It doesn't cost you anything, it's free of charge. Down below there is a small button written subscribe. It is in black. Hit that magical button, turn that notification bell, and like this video. By only doing that, a whole YouTube, guess what? Imagine it will notify you whenever I upload a new good video. All right, so let's get into the business. Now, you are out there, you do your thing, and you get yourself 15,000 at the end of the month. Now, what exactly are you supposed to do? All right, now, the very first thing what I've done is that I've divided this amount of money, or I've divided these two people into two different classes. On the class A, I've actually said these are people who don't have families or people without a family. On the other side, I'm arguing from the point of somebody who has a family. What do I mean? Like two different people. Person A has a family and person B doesn't have a family, but both of them earn 15,000 at the end of the month. How do you plan yourself and what do you do? Okay, let's deal with people or a person or an individual who doesn't have a family. Okay, you are out there. This is the amount of money that you earn and you do not have yourself a family. One thing that you're supposed to understand at this category of income, understand this. This amount of money, I am telling you, is not a substantive to actually sustain you and get all the things that you need in this country. And not only in this country, but wherever you can go. Because the life or cost of living as we speak is very, very outrageously very high, right? Okay, the very first thing that you're supposed to do is that you have to incorporate more sacrifices. Things like entertainment. Those are the things that, hey, I'm not saying that you should not entirely entertain yourself, but those are the things that you need to pay the price, meaning you have to sacrifice. Understand that this amount of money that you have yourself there, you should focus more on what you can be able to do, salvage as much as you can, so that at least you invest that money, you move towards what we call the financial freedom. By the time the family is coming on board, if you have any plans of doing so, okay, therefore you'll be able to be a little bit at a stable state. You see, there is this problem in Africa where people marry because of age. That is the thing that is actually keeping a lot of people in poverty. Let me tell you one secret. I know you may argue from the point of, hey, but God is great, will salvage, will help, and all those kind of things. Okay, I married when I was earning 5K. Those are distinctive and those are isolated cases that they were successful. There are people who are suffering. If you ask them, they regret why they got themselves into the marriage and they do not have the stability as far as the finance is concerned. I do not rule out the fact that God can't help you. God can help you, but also you need to do something that we call, you control the controllables, and then God can do his part. It's as simple as that, okay? So the point is this, those sacrifices, you have to sacrifice yourself. You find somebody is earning 15,000 and maybe he's a man, you have a trail of ladies, each and every time they come to your place, you squander everything that you get, you have nothing that you set aside for your sake, and by the time the age comes whereby you need to have yourself a family, you not only have and they don't have enough an experience, you don't have an investment, you don't know how to manage, and you have to have your family, then you're gonna get yourself into lots of problems. Some of us made these mistakes and we can tell you it's quite tough out there, right? So what are you supposed to do? You're supposed to focus on achieving the basics. So the moment you achieve the basics, that the food, the shelter, and the clothing, therefore the rest of the chunk of huge chunk of your money should be dedicated towards a savings, which later translates to what? To an investment. That is how it happens. I always tell people, that amount of money that you get at the end of the month or the day that you're paid as an employee should actually go ahead in achieving what you call the basic needs. That's a reality and that's a fact. So focus on you achieving the basic needs first, the clothing, the shelter, and the food. Once you do exactly that, now ask yourself, I'm supposed to channel this amount of money towards an investment. And at this category, you can pick yourself, let's say, shares. You can build yourself a good portfolio as far as the shares are concerned. You can actually put some money in the money market fund. Or you can go ahead and start a conventional business that is out there. I assume and I believe you're quite of age at this particular point. And if you're not, at the end of the day, you have no option, but you have to do exactly that. I really wish if you had a shortcut of you doing that, but that is the only way out. You see, if you keep on trailing to people, and by the way, at this particular point, when you do not have much of the responsibilities on top of you, you can leverage on the time that you have, and you can as well leverage on that aspect that you do not have much of the responsibilities. If you can actually save this amount of money, let's say you save 5,000 each and every month, for example, in 3 or 5 months, or let's say half a year, you have yourself a very good, nice laptop. You can as well get the Wi-Fi, and you can be able to learn a skill that later you can actually, leverage on that skill, monetize that skill, and you can be able to actually earn more than this amount of money. Okay. The other thing is that channel the huge chunk of your money towards what? A savings and later investments. But nowadays you can go directly to investments without, you bypass what we call the savings. That is exactly what you're supposed to do at this category. All right. And the last one but not the least, do not marry because of age, but also marry because of what? The stability. And remember this, because you people, you have a tendency of picking that bite, and then you say, Joseph said that you should not marry. I didn't say that. I said don't marry on the basis of age, but marry on the basis of you have that stability of the finance. A time will come, we will realize that marriage is not only ran by love, but also finance is also a very vital thing that you ought to have in your life. So what's my conclusion as far as this bracket is concerned? What you're supposed to understand, do, or focus on is that at this particular age, if you have yourself time, let's say maybe you're talking about somebody who is around 20 to 30 years old, focus on having a skill that you can actually leverage, monetize, and you can be able to earn more than this. For example, there's some skills that you can be able to pick. You can pick what we call graphic design. You can pick yourself coding, web designing. You can pick, but if this issue of inboxing people and asking them, hey, what website can I go and be able to earn money? There's no website that you can just go and earn money without you having the skills. So you ought to have the skills first, then look for an area where you can be able to disseminate those services and be able to be given a reward out of it. Never forget that money is always a reward given after solving someone's problem. And remember one thing, you can never make money. What we do is that you attach value to yourself and you attract more of it and you progress to the next level. At this particular point, honestly speaking, I would say sacrifice as much as you can, and also one day you're gonna do something that is quite outrageous and great in your investment. Now, that is person A. What about person B? You have yourself a family. So what do you do? Now, if you have a family out there, one thing that you're supposed to understand, hey, guess what? At this particular point, you might realize that the entire chunk of money is going towards achieving the basics. There are some of those cases. And by the way, for your information, there are some situations whereby you find it's not only this man you find that actually is not even able to cater for all the basics needs. You find yourself getting yourself into loans, and the loans that you're getting are for what we say, funding the consumables, things that do not generate income in any way. But this is the point. One thing that you're supposed to understand if you have yourself a family is that achieve the basic needs first. The same case applies to this side. So achieve the basic needs first. They have to eat. They have to at least dress. Even if they're not dressing in an elegant way, even if you're not living in a quite a poshy place, but at least you have a roof on top of your head. So the very, very, very first thing that you're supposed to do when you have a family, whether you earn less, medium, or you earn more, the first thing is to achieve the basic needs for the survival of a human being. All right. Now, once you achieve the basics needs, the shelter, the clothing, and the food. Okay, once you do that, the next thing that you're supposed to do is to do what? By all means, you are supposed, or you ought to have to salvage as little as you can. Even if you can be able to set aside 2,000, 3,000, or maybe 1,000 bob at the end of the month. That would be amazing, because let me tell you one secret. If you have a family, then it means that you have a what? A wife, or you have a partner. You can be able to leverage on that. Maybe you can sit down with your partner and tell them, hey, you know what, my dear, at this particular point, with this amount of money that you're earning, hey, guess what? Unless we do something extra, wherever we are heading, the future is not so bright for us. All we have is hope. But again, faith is okay, but faith without action is always what? Death. That's what we say. So the point is this: you can be able to talk with your partner and ask them, hey, what area do you think you can be able to do so that at least we can be able to increase our income and be able to do what? Be able to expand the basket of our income. And this is why you find some people early in the morning, they're doing the mandazis. You find some people early in the morning, they're doing chapatis. You find some people have these kibanda places whereby they're selling the vegetables, the groceries. You find some people are selling eggs or something. Some people are selling milk and something of sort. You see, you ought to have at least somewhere where you can be able to start and pick yourself from there, progress and move to the next level. That has never changed. That is the procedure. So the point is this: if you have yourself a partner and you've achieved the basic needs, and by all means you've salvaged a little as you can, and therefore that amount of money that you've accumulated in a period of time, then you can be able to put it aside towards an investment. All right? And that is how you do, be it an investment, or you can do so through what we call a business. Okay? The other thing is that avoid anxiety. What do I mean? See, when you realize you're earning 15,000, you have yourself a family and you're barely surviving. And if you are, then it means you ought to be actively out there. You see, there is nothing dangerous in this world than when you get yourself in a situation whereby you realize, hey, if I don't wake up today and go to work, my family might go hungry today. All right. So you ought to go out there and work each and every time you're occupied, you're busy, Probably in an entire week, you don't even have a day that you can rest. And if you do, it's probably a single day. All right. Now, can you imagine this? What if something happens? Because this is life. And we say the most predictable thing in life is then predictability. Can you imagine you don't work for 2 or 3 days? You start borrowing, and you're borrowing to actually fund the consumables, things that do not generate any income, and you're borrowing with a presumption that one day in future, as you've promised, you'll be active, and not only active, you'll be working somewhere. And you can just imagine if you're doing the vibaruba thing, income that is not predictable, that's quite a bit dangerous. Okay, so the point is this: one thing that you're supposed to do, and maybe you realize the time is moving, so what you do, I know you might have that big and humongous dream. What I can tell you to do is this: let's say your target is to get like 300,000. So what you're supposed to do, subdivide that big dream, get yourself small compartments, aim at achieving each and every compartment, and when you achieve a single compartment, then that makes you feel satisfied. That's how you do it. Let's say, for example, maybe your point is to raise the 300, maybe you're focusing to one day buy a piece of land somewhere, and then maybe you can be able to put your family in 1, 2, 3. So what you do is this: hey, you can be able to say, hey, each and every month, or maybe let's say you're earning each and every day a salary, you can be able to say, each and every day I'll be setting aside like 200 or 100. By the end of the week, I have myself like 700. I encircle myself with people who are on my level or above me, and then we'll be doing that specific thing and put our money in a given circle. So when you say you're aiming at 300,000, but you aim at maybe achieving 100 shilling each and every day, or 200 each and every day, then that gives you the urge, that gives you the motivation to go ahead and do the thing. But when you carry the entire dream of 300,000, and let's say you've managed to today to set aside 200 Kenyan shillings, that kind of demoralizes you, because when you compare that where you want to go and what you have actually managed to do today, you might get yourself the anxiety. And this is where you find the people now actually develop what we call, this anxiety graduates to become ulcers, the ulcers goes to stresses, the stresses goes to things to do with like depression and what have you. And by the time you realize, these people are actually almost giving up, and they are out there doing anything they can, and that's where people get themselves into the problems. Okay, now the last one, but not the least, rather but the second last, is that sacrifice here is also needed. You ought to sacrifice at any stage of life, whether you're earning more or less. You ought to sacrifice and salvage as little as you can. And the last one is that understand that you are actually having it rough, because this amount of money and you having a family, probably there was something went wrong, but hey, we aren't focusing on that. The point is, focus on changing the situation that you are in, and that's how you salvage yourself and get yourself out of the problems. For now, it's a goodbye, but don't forget, you can always pick my number from the description of this specific video. Give me a call. We can talk about investments, we can talk about businesses. I offer those services at a cup of coffee's price. I also have booklets about investments. If you'd like to grab a copy for you about shares, money market fund, treasury bills and bonds and circles and what have you, a copy goes for 280. Grab the same number, give me a call or a text on WhatsApp. We get started. For now, it's a goodbye. See you in the next point.